Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Anissa Avon, and I am very pleased to welcome you to our Leading in a Crisis virtual summit. We are specifically talking today about business and HR strategies for navigating chaos, crisis, and change. So today, we know that you are juggling many priorities, and we aim to make your time with us very valuable today. So the purpose of our virtual training, we decided that there was so much chaos and it was weighing heavy on all of our hearts, my team, our coaches, our trainers, our HR consultants. And we decided that it was really essential that we do something to give back. So in an effort, I'm going to double check that we're broadcasting. If you guys can hear us good, let me know. Looks like we're broadcasting and folks are coming into the webinar. So thank you for joining us today. As I was saying, my team and I wanted to do something to give back. I reached out to a handful of our experts, including our expert today, Gaurav Bala, and instantaneously they said, absolutely, I'm happy to help. Tell me where to show up. And we have put together this virtual summit. You'll find that there are relevant business and HR topics and virtual training titles that you can share with your team. You can attend one or attend all. They will be happening every Wednesday and Thursday throughout the month of April. So today, I'm pleased to begin. We know folks are still coming on the webinar, so thank you as you're joining us, but we have a lot to cover in a very short amount of time, and we want to make sure that we hit your points of interest. So today's talk, maximizing performance in this time of unexpected complexity with Gaurav Bala. I want to share with you a couple of our sponsors. We are so pleased and proud to thank our sponsors of this summit. The Whitmarsh Consulting Group is a human resources information technology and HRIS consulting service, as well as a multi-channel marketing communication company. Also want to say thank you so much to Insperity for sponsoring our entire summit. Insperity has been kind enough and generous enough to offer participants a free HR financial analysis, report, and debrief. Let me know if that is something of interest by emailing me, Anissa@turnkeycoachingsolutions.com, and I'll send you the link to get your debrief scheduled. By the way, that is about a 10-hour freebie. The folks at Insperity know that you guys are going to be experiencing a lot of change in your business strategy over the next month and thereafter, and wanted to do something meaningful and valuable for our participants. So I've already mentioned our Leading in Crisis. Do check the schedule regularly. We have 40 plus speakers and counting, and there's only 22 of them so far up online. So now I just want to begin. You guys may know me from some of my other webinars. I am the CEO of Turnkey Coaching and Development Solutions. We are sponsoring this event, and I am super excited that Gaurav agreed to join us today. So I have to tell you that Gaurav is absolutely one of the foremost leadership development experts in our country today. He has 40 plus years as a global multinational executive. He's authored 4 books. He's done 500 plus business training programs, which, by the way, every training program requires anywhere from 7 to 20 hours of development for every hour. So if you do the math, he's reached the 10,000 hours of expertise in his area. So Gaurav, share with us what we're going to learn today and what makes you the expert. And thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, Anissa. So first of all, I want to welcome all the participants, and I want to acknowledge right up front that we are living in some very troubled times. I mean, COVID-19 has disrupted a lot of lives and businesses, and there are a lot of stresses and strains that people are experiencing. So my heartfelt gratitude to you, Anissa, first of all, you and your team, for putting up this very relevant and timely summit, as you rightly said. And most of all, to the participants for taking time from your, I mean, people say, well, what are you doing with your time? I beg to defer. I don't have a single free minute on my calendar. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you are also very busy dealing with your life, no matter which way it is, but the world has turned upside down. So we are all very busy tackling that. So my sincere thanks to all of you for showing up. And I hope all of you are healthy and you are safe, and please stay that way. So don't go there yet, Anisa. Go back. Go back.
Go back. All right.
Don't go to the slide yet.
There we go.
So let me explain to you why we're here today, folks. Okay. Yes, I agree we are living in an era of COVID-19, but this presentation is not about COVID-19. This presentation is about one single theme, and that is that the unexpected is increasingly becoming more and more expected in today's day and age. And if I'm not mistaken, Anisa, most of your audience are HR professionals and corporate executives. Is that true?
Business professionals, HR professionals.
Wonderful. So as business professionals, as HR professionals, as leaders, our primary job is to protect jobs. Our primary goal is to protect jobs and careers. But that's not the only goal that we have. Our goal should be a little more than that. And the only reason I'm here today is to help you understand that if you expect the unexpected, if anticipating the unexpected and responding to it becomes more the norm than the exception in your companies, then not only will you protect jobs and careers, but you will also enhance the well-being and prosperity of the employees that work in your company. And that's the only reason why we are here. And that's why I refocused and reinvigorated this offering of mine, so to make it even more relevant, because in just a few minutes, I'll show you that even though COVID-19 may be a novel virus, the unexpectedness of COVID-19 is not new. It's been with us for decades. Now, Anisa, take it away wherever you want.
All righty.
Okay, so my preference always, rather than starting by just talking, and you might think, well, this guy must be in love with his own voice. He's done so many executive training programs. Well, not really. My programs are very interactive. So I want to begin with a very simple question. I'm going to ask you, and please put your answers in the chat box. And you're responding on a 5-point scale, where 5 is strongly agree and 1 is strongly disagree. And I know there are some marketing researchers in the audience who are probably smiling from ear to ear. There is widespread agreement amongst decision makers in our company on what we don't want to go wrong. Strongly agree or strongly disagree? Give me a single number, please.
Yeah, so we've got a 5, a 3. Mary says 2. We've got, a bunch of 3s. Jackie says 4. Got 4 4s in a row here. Another 3. Stacy, thank you.
So here's the deal, folks. I'm, first of all, very surprised that we got a 5 and that we've got 4s. So I want to get down on both knees and salute you because you are ahead of the pack. Most human beings and most organizations are so preoccupied with success, with wanting to be successful, that they don't spend enough time thinking about what can go wrong and what they don't want to go wrong. So I will share with you just something very topical. As you know, that Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo of New York, is all the rage today. You know, the media are talking about him. His brother Chris Cuomo is talking about him on CNN, and he's somehow become the role model. And do you know why? He has become the role model because he has made himself the caretaker of just one question. He constantly keeps asking the question, is there something that we are missing? What else should we be thinking of? And all that aims, sort of points to the preparedness. Because when you have a very clear idea of what you don't want to go wrong, you are not going to be preoccupied with success. You're going to be preoccupied with failure. And that's at the heart of today's program. Companies that anticipate failure, that are preoccupied with preventing it do very well in unexpected times. And by the way, it's not just I who's saying it or the media. The Center for Disease Control has actually told the governors and mayors of every state and every city to have Andrew Cuomo as their role model and to follow his lead. So when they say, what should we do? They say, just do what Andrew's doing. You know, and what is Andrew doing? He's constantly asking the question, what is it that we don't want to go wrong? Are we prepared? Can we be better prepared? So that's why we are here today.
That's precisely why I'm grateful that you're talking today with us. The model of excellence, the model of creativity, the model of dealing with business unusual is really what you bring to the forefront in your conversations, Gaurav.
Thank you. You want to go to the next page? Okay, so now you must be wondering what's the difference between expected and unexpected. And this is actually very interesting because as human beings and as organizations, we like to be right. Don't you, Anisa?
Yes, please.
You don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I wish I were wrong today. You know, you wake up in the morning and say, well, I hope I'm right, or the decisions that I'm taking, I hope they are right. And which is why those people that are comfortable in an expected world, where the world shows up the way they want it. And by the way, have you ever noticed in your own lives as to how the world very rarely shows up the way you want it to? You know, it's more the exception than the norm. We have a confirmation bias. We're constantly seeking for evidence and data that confirms our expectations. And when something doesn't confirm it, we shun it. You know, we just sort of turn a blind eye to it. What does that do? That doesn't make us any smarter. That just makes us complacent and it makes us vulnerable. Whereas those people who are very adept and skilled at dealing with the unexpected, they are constantly monitoring deviations. They're so alert to deviations because the information is not in the occurrence of a successful event. The information is always in when an event fails. So I'll give you a classic example. Let's say there are two airports. They're flying over Chicago O'Hare Airport, and they come within a very dangerous distance of each other, 200 feet, and they're virtually going to collide, but they have a near miss in airline technology that's called near miss. Now, the expected people, what are they going to do? They're going to pat themselves on the back and they're going to say, see how good our systems are. We averted the collision. The unexpected experts, they're going to frown on that near miss and they're going to say, we need to get to the bottom of why we even came close to having a near miss so that we don't have these kinds of occurrences in the future. And that's the difference. And that's what I really want to focus on, this mindset that we are not just in the business of celebrating success. We are in the business of picking up weak signals that alert us to failures so we can prevent them. And if they do happen, respond very quickly to rectify them.
Yeah. Yeah. Gaurav, we have a little bit of a technical difficulty with some folks not being on the call. So I'm going to take your lead and try to fix this while you continue on, because this is a really relevant and important conversation, and I want to make sure that folks can get on.
Okay. So do you want me to just continue going without
Please do. And
okay.
I'll be right back with you, but I'm going to deal with some technology at the moment.
Okay. So in short, you're saying you're going to suspend the Q&A and you just want me to proceed with the presentation.
Yes, please.
Okay, thanks. So the goal and the quest, and I'm sure you've all heard the parable of the boiled frog, that a frog loves water, right? So if you put the frog in water, the frog settles in, they're nice and cozy. Now you increase the temperature of the water just slightly, and the frog gets even cozier and cozier and cozier, till such a time that the temperature of the water is so high, it's boiling, and the frog has nowhere to go. And unfortunately, the frog boils over. All right, the goal and quest of today's presentation, or today's dialogue, it's really not a presentation. Anisa and I have set it up as a fireside chat. The goal is that how can we weaken the grip of cozy expectations? We don't want to be like the frog that's getting cozier and cozier while the temperature around us is increasing, while the stream of unexpected events are bombarding us. Our goal is to be able to broaden our horizons so we can see more, we can hear more. Our goal is to be able to make better sense of what we see and hear, to rapidly update our assumptions, because today is not like yesterday. I guarantee you, I'm not a gambler, I'm not a very rich guy, but whatever little money I have, sorry, did I say I'm not a gambler? I am a gambler, but I'm not a rich guy. So whatever little money I have, I'll be willing to stake that if I were to ask you that, are your organizations the same today that they were 5 years ago? You would say no. If I ask you, are your organizations going to be the same 5 years from now as they are today? You would say no. Well, that's exactly why we need to update our assumptions, why we need to update the way we make sense of the environment, because we are not the same as we were yesterday. And the real challenge is to let go of this absolute addiction that we have with what should be. Folks, life is not about what should be. Life is about what is. So it's much better to be grounded in reality and confronting the what is rather than be preoccupied with the what should be. Sheila, Anissa, do you want to take me to the next page,
Yes.
please?
There we go.
Okay. Now, so what are the three main competencies? And notice, I did not use the word strategies. I did not use the word tactics. I'm talking about drivers. Because in an unexpected, complex environment, there are certain forces that are likely to produce results. And I'm going to talk about only three forces. I'm going to reduce the amount of workload on you so that when you leave, you can implement these right away. I'm a huge believer in what I call Monday morning implementation. And what I mean by that is, you're not here just to listen to me. I mean, you might say, well, interesting accent. Well, I don't think I have an accent. I think Anissa has an accent. I mean, she's the one who speaks funny. I don't speak funny. I speak real, the King's English. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make over here is I'm going to talk about three main forces. Anticipation, which means the ability and the willingness. Sometimes it's not just a question of skill. It's a question of will. We are pig-headedly stubborn sometimes. Okay, so the ability to remove blinkers and the ability to see differently is crucial if we want to thrive and succeed and maximize performance in an unexpected environment. Our ability to act in a resilient manner. What does that mean? We need to be able to give up our rigid worldviews. The Germans have a very interesting expression, Weltanschauung. And they pronounce the W like a V, which is just fine with me because I pronounce my W's like V's too, okay? So they have this very interesting word called Weltanschauung. Weltanschauung means your worldview. Folks, if you're in total love with your worldview, you're going to be in real trouble in unexpected times. You need to be able to release and relax and loosen your grip on some of these rigid, if A, then B. Well, not necessarily. Because in an unexpected time, it could be if A, then maybe B. Or it may be B, not necessarily A. So you don't know what relationships hold in an unexpected time, which is why we need to be able to think and talk and act in a resilient manner. And finally, something which is absolutely near and dear to my heart, and that is expertise cultures. And I'm sure, Anissa, being a HR-dominated audience, we understand the word cultures, we live by it, we swear by it. And folks, in an unexpected environment of complexity, rank has absolutely no meaning. Expertise and knowledge is everything. Unfortunately, we have started living in a world that devalues expertise. I have a book sitting on my table. Every time I pick it up and I read it, it makes me cry. And the title of the book is The Death of Expertise. If you are willing to subjugate and subordinate expertise to rank, then that is not an ideal recipe for thriving in an unexpectedly complex environment. The recipe that we need to adopt is transcend rank, embrace cognitive diversity, because we all don't think the same way, we don't talk the same way, we don't act the same way, and that, folks, is a real asset, not a liability.
This is very timely. What I really am curious about, though, Gaurav, is when a culture is well established with hierarchy, with particular ranks and expectations around that, it becomes very difficult for a company to shift or pivot on a dime. And that's what this moment takes. What is your recommendation for HR professionals or other leaders in shifting the culture to a readiness to where their folks are champions in transcending their rank and in color only within the lines kind of performance? How do they do that in this moment?
Anissa, I'll give you just one simple example. Every company has meetings, correct? Okay.
Too many. Yes.
Too many, right. Okay. Let me ask you a simple question. Where is it written in the rule book that the person with the highest rank always calls the meeting, the person with the highest rank always runs the meeting, the person with the highest rank always sits at the head of the table? Where is it written? Where is it written that the meeting table should be rectangular and not round? I have no clue whether King Arthur existed or not, but my Uncle Merlin tells me he did. And my Uncle Merlin is a very wise guy, and I never quarrel with him. Okay, please tell me, where is it written that decision-making tables can't be round? They should be round. The person people should be able to call a meeting regardless of whether they have the rank or not, because the people in rank should not have the attitude of I. It takes a very simple leadership transformation. All that you have to do, Anissa, is to go from I know to I'm listening, I'm willing to learn, help me understand. That's it. That's all that it takes.
I'm listening, I'm willing to learn, help me understand.
Exactly.
Very good. So,
and when leaders have that mindset, then we will have expertise cultures.
So part of what you're saying is that really wise leaders right now will give their people permission to show up in a different way. They will give them permission. You've got a solution, you want to champion an idea, you call a meeting. And
Anissa, you're stealing my thunder, but that's exactly where I'm headed. You are absolutely on the money. That this is not the time to have one or two or three people dominate the stage. This is the time to liberate voices. This is the time to invite people to voice their opinions, okay, regardless of whether they are politically correct or not. So you're absolutely correct. Well done.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, now, rather than talk about those three key drivers, as you know, rather than present, I'm going to actually approach it by engaging all of you in Q&A, because that's, I think, what makes it much more interesting. So I will address anticipation with a question. And the question goes something like this: striving to challenge the status quo. And I'm smiling because we all know how, Anissa just talked about it, how status quo is so rigid. Striving to challenge the status quo is an established trait of our operating culture. Please put in your responses in the chat box. 5 is strongly agree, 1 is strongly disagree. All right. Aha, I see a lot of ones.
And as those are coming in, we recently, even before the pandemic happened, had an opportunity to help a client build a culture where individuals had a voice. And initially, most of the managers were against the idea. No one's going to participate. No one's going to show up at these meetings. No one wants to contribute their extra time this way. They had more applications to participate in the project than they ever imagined. In fact, it was more than what they could actually handle. And all they had to do was ask them to show up. Are you interested in participating?
Correct.
Give them that opportunity. So,
Anissa, do you just want to take a minute and read off some numbers?
Yep.
So that
we have, goodness, we've got our ones coming in off the charts. 2, 2, 4, 4, 1, 1. Yeah.
Again, my sincere appreciation and applause for those people who said 4. Folks, what happens when we challenge the status quo? What happens? We basically disturb predictability, correct? We say that tomorrow is not going to be like yesterday. So we better start expecting the unexpected. Well, let me give you a classic example of something like this. You might say that COVID-19 is absolutely like the frontier of unexpected. Well, I'm going to read to you verbatim something that's in my hand. Okay, now I'm going to give it away because it has the name of the virus in it, so you'll actually know which year it was. Maybe you won't, but just listen to me. Let's listen to this, what I'm going to read to you. So this is a public notice that came out in a newspaper, and here's how it goes. Notice is hereby given that in order to prevent the spread of Spanish influenza, all schools, public and private churches, theaters, moving picture halls, pool rooms, and other places of amusement and lodge meetings are to be closed until further notice. All public gatherings consisting of 10 or more are prohibited. Now, if I were, would anyone like to take a guess as to when this was published? Well, since we have very little time, 19th October, 1918.
Wow.
102 years ago. Now, there are a lot, again, I am not in any mood to diminish the impact of COVID-19, but to say that COVID-19 is a totally unexpected event is a blatant lie. And I don't deal in lies. I'm a very straight shooter, sometimes even at the expense of offending people, but that, and I believe in the long term, is the best way to go. There has been talk about the pandemic for decades. It's not new. There have been pandemics before. I just read this to you. If I were to change the word Spanish influenza with COVID-19, and I was to change things that we don't have today, like moving picture halls to bars, pubs, beaches, etc., it would look exactly like a public service announcement in today's environment, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the point I'm trying to make, folks, is that if you really believe that you live in a VUCA world, V-U-C-A, volatile, uncertain, complicated, ambiguous, then you must start expecting the unexpected. We should not be throwing up our hands and complaining because it is the norm. And I'll give you a classic example from today's world. 3M, the leading company of N95 masks in the world, they got caught short in 2003 when the SARS epidemic hit. And they made a corporate decision that they were never going to get caught short again. Remember the very first question, what should not go wrong? So they said, what should not go wrong is that we should not be able to meet demand. So what they did was, and some of you may not be from manufacturing backgrounds, I'm not, but I'm quite familiar with the concept of they built in surge capacity into their manufacturing facilities. And what that means is that they have excess capacity so that when there is an explosion in demand, there can also be an explosion in supply. Now, at the beginning of the year, you may remember there were bushfires burning in Australia. There were volcanoes erupting in Philippines and Indonesia. So already they were operating at a very high supply rate because masks were needed in Australia, masks were needed in Philippines and Indonesia. And then suddenly they got news from Washington, D.C. that COVID-19 may be hitting US and they had to expand their capacity. Well, guess what? They had anticipated this event based on their failure in 2003. They were ready. And today they are operating and producing masks at an unprecedented rate. Why? Because of the fact that they did not take success for granted. They had a very keen eye open for what can go wrong, what can fail, and they were determined not to let it happen. They anticipated it, foresight.
To share what I'm taking away personally from what you're sharing is, even if we do live in a VUCA world, even if we don't have all of the answers because we don't have a crystal ball, you are saying that history informs us. And if we are mindful, we have everything we need to predict the future. And that's what we've got to run with. So it's not acceptable not to anticipate.
Anisa, you handcuffed me when I agreed to speak on this summit by saying I'm only going to give you 15 to 30 minutes. But the point is, it's so interesting you should use those words. Absolutely. It's not acceptable to throw up your hands and cry. I have no patience for managers who say, oh my God, the sky's falling on our heads. We need to expect the unexpected. And what you just said is so interesting. 9 times out of 10, when we use the word mindfulness, we use it for individuals. But with all due respect, we live in an era of mindful leadership. Means leadership needs to understand that it cannot be pursuing success variables alone. You know, this whole notion of key success factors and key success indicators and key success variables, I think we should just drop that. We should have expressions like key failure vulnerabilities or key vulnerability index. We need to understand where organizations are vulnerable so we can protect them and we can respond appropriately. Couldn't agree with you more.
So I do have a question. You know, it's one thing to say, be prepared and cultivate your craft of anticipation and strategic foresight. But it's a whole other thing when you're in the middle of what we're all going through of a pandemic, and suddenly you have leaders that don't have that competency or haven't been granted permission to develop that competency. What do our peers need to do to instantaneously develop that competency? Or is that a longer conversation than we have today?
No, since I anticipated that you would be asking me this question, okay, the answer is on the next slide. So
Brilliant.
If you were to just move my slide one forward. Okay, the answer is, anticipation is all about foresight. But we are not perfect human beings. There is no such thing as perfect foresight. We make mistakes. So foresight is what we call prevention, that old maxim, prevention is better than cure, but we can't always prevent, which is why in times like this, Anisa, to answer your question, what is at a premium is resilience, okay? And what do we mean by resilience? Resilience means the speed with which we can learn, unlearn, and relearn. Alvin Toffler said that the illiterate of the 21st century are not going to be those who can't read or write. They are going to be the ones who can't learn, unlearn, or relearn. Our times, unexpected times, are constantly placing us in this very uncomfortable position where we have to say more often than not, I don't know, I'm listening. Help me learn, help me understand, rather than say, I know, been there, done that. Sorry, been there, done that is a familiar world which passed you 10 years ago. We are living in a totally different era. So my question again over here is, like, I would like to ask the participants, resources are continuously invested in helping employees learn and unlearn and relearn. I would like to know, what is the culture in your organizations?
You know, this is a different, as folks are responding, we've got some 2s and some 3s, 2s coming in. This is a different definition than my personal framework around resilience. And I'm really appreciative of you saying it like this. In my mind, resilience is about bouncing back. And it still is, right? It's about taking adversity and overcoming it. What the frame of reference that you've just shared with us takes it to another level in regards to how to develop competency specifically inside organizations and leaders, giving them permission to learn and then on a dime, unlearn what you think you already know and then relearn it again. That opens it up to where this 1, 2, 3 formula that you're sharing with us can really work as a cohesive formula.
I think there's a reason, Anisa, why you invited me to your summit, because you and I have been, related for a number of years now. And you know that I do have a way of thinking differently and listening and seeing differently about some of these issues. Right now, as we speak, let's make it very, very topical. Healthcare, education, entertainment, religion, even religion. Every activity that we take for granted is in the process of asking themselves, how can we respond in a resilient way? Because people are not going to classrooms. So if the classroom is not for education and people still need to be educated, how are we going to respond? Okay. And someone just said over there, what a great tag team the two of you are.
Thank you, Jackie.
So I don't know. Anisa, you take credit for that. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like we've got some 3s, some 4s, but most are saying 2 or 3.
Okay. Anisa, there's a reason why I brought this up, because, and I'm addressing this to the HR people directly. Folks, I have a huge beef with the HR profession. And I have a huge
Here we go.
with the talent and development professions. Why? Because we pay lip service to development more often than we actually implement it. So if you are skimping on your training programs, if you are scrounging on investing in the learning, unlearning, and relearning of your people, don't, because you're making yourselves vulnerable. Okay? It's only when you're open to the fact that what you knew yesterday may not help you today and is definitely not going to help you tomorrow. That's when you're in the best position, Anisa, to do what? To respond, even though you may not have anticipated. Hospitals are scrambling today. Educational institutions are scrambling. Entertainment institutions are scrambling. Imagine, Anisa, if you were the CEO of Disney. Your 2 or 3 biggest core assets are locked up. What are you going to do? Imagine your Broadway. Well, Broadway's got Broadway HD now. Everyone is having to rethink, learn, unlearn, relearn as to what is their value, what is their core and intrinsic value, and how they're going to deliver it to their customers.
Yeah, well said.
Okay.
I'm a Disney girl. You're going to make me cry thinking about that.
Uh-oh. All right. And here we come to something that is absolutely, I'm very passionate about this. In fact, I have a program on cognitive diversity, and a lot of people have told me that, that they have not heard of that program or that term, cognitive diversity, other than when I had presented these programs at SHRM conferences and at other. I think I did a webinar for you and your audience too, Anisa, on cognitive diversity, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I'm going to ask a very simple question. If something unexpected occurs, the most qualified people, regardless of the rank, make the decisions in our company. Strongly agree, strongly disagree. Now, as you are writing, let me ask you a very simple question. Where would the coronavirus task force be if Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx didn't exist? I mean, folks, I am not the kind of person who gets very impressed with people, and I don't get down on one knee to salute expertise very often. But for Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, I'll get down on both knees, okay? Because this is what's happening. Just because a person can tweet doesn't mean that they have literary qualities that can allow them to write a novel. Just because you can do a Facebook post on an idea doesn't mean that you have the ability to be able to implement that when it actually means coordinating the collaboration of 200 or 300 people. Rank means nothing in unexpected times. Nothing. Rank is just raw power. What really matters in unexpected times, if you want to maximize performance, is who knows, who is the expert, who is the person who can make a difference with the way they think, with the way they talk, and with the way they act. Because, folks, I'm going to give it to you in a single sentence, and I'm going to come back to it later on. When everybody in a company thinks the same way, talks the same way, acts the same way, it's not a strategic asset. It's a huge liability. And you cannot afford that at times of unexpected complexity.
This is certainly speaking to the heart of our leaders and our HR folks' challenges. Part of what I'm having difficulty with, though, is, okay, great idea. And how are our HR professionals, how are our leaders going to implement a culture, a shift that inspires those around them to bring forth their expertise? How do they get out of their own ego? Sometimes that's exactly what has created the culture of rank first, expertise second. How do we foster that in this moment? What kind of communication needs to happen in order to move the needle?
Can I just be a little egocentric myself, since you brought up the word ego? Read my book, Awakening a Leader's Soul. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. You need to read my book, Awakening a Leader's Soul. Actually, Anisa, why don't you take me now? This will just reinforce the fact that we're a good tag team. Why don't you take me to the next page, because the answers are there. Okay.
Oh, perfect. Glad to set
let's
you up.
talk about some strategies. So I have a book which is one of my favorites. I have actually lots. You might be saying, this guy keeps saying I have a book. I have a book. Well, I have lots of books. Okay, and it's a fact. So it's all about the one focus. Now, I am a huge believer. I have a huge amount of passion for implementation. So I'm only going to give you one implementable initiative that you can actually act on the moment this program finishes, whenever it does. Anissa controls that. I don't. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make is that I'm not going to give you a smorgasbord or a whole menu of, the 5 things that you must do or the 7 things that you must do. No, I've given you 3 key drivers: anticipation, resilience, expertise, cultures. And for each of them, I'm going to give you a very focused recommendation that you can implement Monday morning when you leave and start, catering to and Monday morning is a metaphor for saying when you get back to your day jobs. Okay. So in anticipation, Anissa, your question was, what can we do? Well, can we at least start by creating an awareness of vulnerability? How many times do we have meetings where we compliment ourselves and we thump ourselves on the back and we say, we are the best company in the world, we're the greatest, we're the this, no one's like us, etc. Why don't we, instead of applauding ourselves, instead of being so enamored with our own success, why don't we create an awareness of vulnerability and say, folks, very good that we are successful today, but let's not take it for granted. Today's success was not going to determine tomorrow's success. Let's identify areas where we are still vulnerable, where things can go wrong, so that we can continue to grow and we can continue to be successful. So that way we can become better prepared for when things go wrong. We can be more prepared for, and we can anticipate failure. So this preoccupation with vulnerability, with what things can go wrong. Usually we have a list of all our strengths. If you look at a SWOT matrix, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, there is no room for vulnerabilities. There is no room for, so maybe we should go to a different kind of matrix, okay? And so rather than looking and applauding ourselves on what we can do right, maybe we should just ask a simple question, where can things go wrong? And by the way, this is very interesting because it reminds me of a very interesting story. Way back in the 90s, I was running my own company. We had about 20, 25 odd people around that time, and we were having this town hall. And I remember a very young person in the audience raising their hand and addressing me directly and saying, Gaurav, it's so interesting that we are sitting over here applauding ourselves as to what a great company we are. But in the back room where I am, I always see as to how sometimes we deliver the report at the 11th hour and the client thinks, oh, we had it ready all along and we had all our ducks in a row. So maybe we're not as great as we think we are. It was such an eye-opener just to hear a young person be able to say that. But what gave me even more pleasure and delight was that he had the courage to be able to say it and know that he would not be punished for it. That's really what we need. We need that kind of sense of maybe everything is not right. I love the next one. Bad news is good news. Okay, we should be suspicious of good news. We should seek out bad news, because when we seek out bad news, we find ways to cope. Now remember, anticipation is foresight. It's the cure. But we are not perfect human beings. We can't see perfectly at all times. Resilience is the cure. It's the treatment. It says when things go wrong, how quickly can we act to make sure that we mitigate, we minimize the impact of what's going wrong? And I'm going to give you a 3-step process for acting in unexpected times. It's called fast, stop, fast. Be very fast in taking stock of the situation, in updating your assumptions, and then stop. And exactly what Andrew Cuomo is doing right now. Ask yourselves, what else can go wrong? Are we in the right frame of mind, or are we just bringing the past into the present? And then act very fast again to implement. So it actually has a very nice resonance with learn, unlearn, relearn. Okay, you update your assumptions very quickly. You stop, you take stock of where you are. You make sure that you're not bringing the old into your current thinking and act and implementation, and then you act very speedily, and then you learn all over again. Okay. And then finally, okay, I think that this is not the time to be quiet. This is where leaders should be going around their companies, demanding that people speak up. And they should be asking people, the grapevine, hey, who is the best expert in the company on this? It will not be in your files. It will not be in their profiles. It will be, people will know. The grapevine knows who's really good at it, because they have been denied. They have heard complaints of people talking at coffee machines and at water fountains, etc., saying, you know, I never get a chance, even though I'm so good at it and I have such great talent in this area, and nobody gives me a chance, and say, you know, that person is really good when it comes to making strategies in an uncertain environment. Well, seek them out. Never mind what their rank is. Okay, because this is the time to demand that people speak up, speak out their mind, and be totally frank. Because if you're not, you're only going to hurt yourself.
Very good. If literally our folks on with us can take this strategy and invite their leaders to speak it just like this, invite their leaders to express their own vulnerabilities in a way that rallies their team to throw in, to support the organization, to support their peers in ways that they previously perhaps had not felt permission to step up. I do have a question about this resilience piece, Gaurav. I can really appreciate being suspicious of good news, because that's my natural thought sometimes. But I'm also very aware of the fact that during a time that is as difficult as this is, we are inundated with bad news and difficulty, and we're seeing suicide rates go out. How exactly are we supposed to manage seeking out bad news without also jumping off the cliff, so to speak?
Very good question. I don't think I can answer that in 5 minutes, but you made a very interesting discussion, differentiation. Managing an individual is very different than managing an organization. My entire presentation has an organizational focus where there are collectives of human beings. And what I'm trying to say over here is that organizations that have a tendency of brushing bad news under the carpet so that they withhold it from the executives, they withhold acting on it, all that they're doing is making themselves even more vulnerable to unexpected events. That's all that I'm saying. I'm not saying that you should inundate a poor individual. I mean, again, people will think that we manufactured it, but it's not true. I know that at least one person in the audience knows about this incident because I shared it with her yesterday. I have a lady who works with me. Her name is Kim. Like I said to myself, I told her also, I said, Kim, I think you are becoming a casualty of isolation and being on your own. And she was going absolutely stir crazy. So I called her up yesterday. I literally talked her off the ledge. She was not on any ledge. But I basically said, Kim, you know, let's just talk. And we didn't talk about work at all. We just talked, okay? All that she needed was someone to just hear her out. She just needed to vent. She just needed to let off steam and say as to how frustrated she was that she couldn't see her children, how she couldn't be with her grandchildren, how her weekend routine had been disrupted, etc. And after that, she says, well, I think I'm ready to get back to call people now. I said, no, you don't call people. Just go to sleep, relax, you know. But anyway, I don't want to make light of it. But the fact I'm trying to say to you, Anisa, is you were talking about the individual. I'm talking about collectives. Yeah. A little different situation.
Yeah, very, very good distinction. And I am hopeful that the folks on the call today will literally be able to take those 3 strategies and implement it with their teams as an organization, but also specifically with individuals, understanding that there's an opportunity here for leaders to demonstrate vulnerability, to look for, as you said, what can go wrong with their old way of thinking and this new idea of business unusual. And then I really appreciate bringing forth the concept of asking for your teams to step up into their expertise. And you have some solutions around this that I want people to know about. Tell us about
Before you take
your...
me there, may I just
Yes.
weave a little loop with these three?
Yes.
Because these three are not just, I didn't come up with these three initiatives or key drivers just like that because I had nothing better in life to do. I mean, they are part of a system of thinking. It says, don't get cozy because the next unexpected event can have your name on it. Okay, no one is exempt. Don't get too cozy in your success. When success that you anticipate doesn't come through, you must be able to react quickly because none of us can foresee the future perfectly. So even though we may have anticipation in place, we need to have very, very good treatment so that when the patient falls ill, we are able to recover them with great speed. But in order to recover the patient with great speed, we have to tap into people who know how to recover the patient and not just those who have the higher rank.
Very
So
good.
these three things have a very close, they are part of a system of thinking. Actually, if you look at it, and if there are any medical people in the audience, you will recognize this as triage. You know, you first stabilize the patient, you stop the bleeding, then you figure out what to do with the patient, and then you act on the patient as quickly as you can so that you can get them back to health. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Brilliant. Well said. You have designed some very specific options and been generous enough to offer attendees a very, very generous offer. I want you to share a little bit about this, but I want folks on the call to know that Gaurav oftentimes gets 10,000 plus per keynote. For him to build something that's specific for this unique occasion is a very big deal and very generous. So thank you, Gaurav. Share with us what you've designed.
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that, but I would like, if there was a way I could get Anisa to withdraw that, I would. But here's the deal. When we were developing, when Anisa invited me, she said, what can you do for the audience? So I thought about it and I came up with two programs. One is the one that I'm talking about right now. Okay, and that is the maximizing performance. But then there's a part to it, and Anisa, you hinted at it. Which companies are going to be more adept at maximizing performance? Those that have smarter teams, not those who have smart individuals, but those who have smarter teams. Every company has teams, but not every company's teams operate in a smart fashion. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is, so I have two programs. Okay. Maximizing performance in an unexpected world, unexpectedly complex world, and how to build smart teams. So you as listeners have two options. One option is you can get one of those two, just one of those two, live 90-minute action learning Zoom workshop, exactly like the way I'm doing it right now, highly interactive, because you may believe I'm in love with my own voice, but I really am not. Okay? I like to interact. I like to engage people. I like to ask questions. And you'll be saying, well, Gaurav, I'm writing all this interesting stuff in the chat and you're not even responding to it. I can't. I'm not a very good multitasker. Either I address you or I read what's in the chat. Anisa is reading what's in the chat. She'll respond to that. Okay. So option A is you purchase one of these or you invest in one of these workshops, either the managing performance or the building smart teams. And the option B is you get both of them. You say, you know what, we really need both. And what I've done is I have given you what I would call an aggressive saving platform. And if you get two, the saving platform is even more aggressive. So if you purchase or invest in one program, your investment is $2,500, your saving is $2,500. If you invest in both programs, your investment is $4,000 and your saving is $6,000. So clearly, if you buy the pooled offering, you invest a little more, but you save a lot more.
Beautiful.
That's not where we end.
No, you've got more. And yeah. I'm very grateful that you've come up with something to also help executives at no skin in the game, except showing up, for our peers and clients. So
yeah, because every company has a limited amount of resources. And the previous one, if you remember, the participant limit was 15 people. I mean, because if I have to interact with people, I need to keep it manageable. All right. And you have to purchase it by April 10 and you have to implement it by May 29. That's the only constraint. But every company's appetite to train people, to help them learn, unlearn, and relearn is much bigger than their budget. I understand that, which is why I have developed the bonus of one live 30-minute lunch and learn executive briefing for those that were not part of the 15 people that attended the program. And that is 110% free. Okay, no investment involved at all in that, because you invariably will have people who you may want to be exposed to these ideas, but you can't afford to have them all in that 15, or you may not want to buy multiple programs of 15, 30, 45, 60, etc. The option B, if you buy 2 programs, then you get 2 bonuses. Okay, one bonus is the same, the one live 30-minute lunch and learn executive briefing. And the other bonus is a 30-minute team coaching workshop. Folks, I really believe that the future competitive advantage is going to lie in which companies' teams are working smarter. And the ability to coach teams, not just individuals, but coach teams to be able to behave in an anticipatory, resilient, and a collaborative, diverse way is really where the future lies. And that's why I'm offering this workshop. And here again, there is no charge. It's free, 100% free. So you save $1,000 with this bonus, you save $2,000 with the other bonus. And when you put the entire program together, and if you would take me to the next page, Anisa, okay, what your investment, if you buy one program by April 10th and implemented by May 29th, is $2,500. Your total saving is $3,500. If you invest in both programs, your investment is $4,000 and your total savings is $8,000. And I'm very willing to do this because these are very unexpected times. These are very disruptive times, and people like Anisa and I have an obligation to be able to help the community, actually implement some of these ideas.
Yep. Yeah, those are, thank you for that. I think that we have just a couple of minutes to wrap up. I'm very appreciative of you guys joining us. Christopher had written, and let me reread his chat. I asked, what are your takeaways, guys, from today? And he said, being alert to potential failures, not just celebrating successes. And Jackie says, thank you both. More people need to hear this. So critical. I commend you both. Sorry, I get a little choked up when I feel like we're doing something to make a difference in the middle of this. And it really means a lot to hear that this is I knew it would be
Anisa, take me back to that one page. I know you have a few pages, but I just want to end with one. Just take me back to that. Folks, this is not a time to be politically correct. This is a time to speak up. This is not a time to say, raise your hands if you agree. This is a time to say, raise your hand if you don't agree. And this is not a time for consensus. This is a time for butting heads. And this is a time for creative friction, because when things collide, sparks fly. When heads collide, ideas should fly. So let's butt heads. Okay, let's come up with different ways of looking at this world. And hopefully we will be able to come up with very productive solutions to be able to cope with not just this unexpected time, but also those that lie ahead.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you. Well said. And I want to make sure you folks know that we have several additional summits going on, webinars going on today. Here shortly, we're going to be talking to Jeff Morris about our behavior superpowers, which we all need some superpowers in this moment. And then we're going to be talking with expert Ray Weaver specifically on emotional intelligence during a crisis. So do go back to our turnkeycoachingsolutions.net/leading in a crisis. That is the link at the top of the screen there, and it is case sensitive. But here's really what I want you guys to know. Gaurav's special offer, there is a link on his page. If you guys attended through our virtual summit, then you will find that you can click on that link and you'll be taken to his offers. And if you have any challenges with that, just reach out to me personally. You should have my email in your inbox, anisa@turnkeycoachingsolutions.com. So Gaurav, bless you, my friend, and thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank everybody who attended. And please stay safe and healthy. And like they say, this too shall pass and we will come out stronger.
Well said. Everyone stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you soon. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, Anisa. I'm going to hang up, Anisa.
Okay, let's do that.